What's up, everybody? Welcome to Self Chats, where we empower one another to overcome the internal battles that take place in our minds. It's your girl, Kat, and I am back with another episode, another opportunity for us to take a moment and reflect on how far we've come from where we started. And when I take a look back and think about how far I've come from where I started, I am so grateful that I am not where I used to be. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm really glad that I'm not where I used to be. And I'm really grateful that God snatched me out of my broken ways, and that every day I am learning how to become the better version of myself, whatever it may be for that time of in that year. But anyway, do you guys ever think about life? Like, do you ever take a moment to think about life and be still and think about, oh, wow, this used to be what I used to pray for. This used to be these things that I have, this job, this life, this new mindset used to be what I prayed for. And I am sitting in the midst of my prayers. And sometimes I think about how far I've come and how I've been brought out of the old way of thinking. And I think about life, and one of my favorite things to say is when people ask me what I'm doing or how I'm feeling, I'm like, well, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna think about life. I'm gonna go to the pool and think about life. But do you know who's really good at reminding us of our ratchet ways? It is Facebook Memories and the Time Hop app. And when I take a look back at the Time Hop app, I had to delete that thing because the things that I would say, the things that came out of my mouth, the things that I actually typed and hit post made me cringe. So I really had to like delete that and forget about those things that I used to say. The only reason why I have Facebook is it's my way of keeping in contact with my family who live on the other side of the country. And that's my way of letting them know that I'm okay, that I'm alive, and that I'm doing well. And also is just for me to keep up with their lives as well. But Facebook Memory has a lot of things that I wish I never said. And unfortunately, I can't really delete them, but that's okay. It reminds us how far we've come from where we started. But on this episode, I am excited and I am looking forward to speaking and discussing with you guys ways of what we can do to unlearn certain things that are kind of keeping us from getting to our goals or achieving our goals or the life that we've envisioned for ourselves, right? And as you can see my shirt, it says unlearn, because we got to unlearn these things that are barriers or hinders to getting us from where we need to be. And so in this episode, we'll discuss things, and we'll identify and take inventory of like habits, thought patterns, past traumas, just things that we do day to day that may not be helping us. And we'll create strategies, or we'll talk about strategies on what we can do. And then I want to share with you guys a scripture that has helped me, and I hope that it will help you and be like a daily reminder of how we're supposed to think and how we're supposed to show up in the world. I think that has really helped me. And then we got to think about, like, again, how where we started from where we are now is like the wisdom that we gain. So it's going to be a great time for us to just have a little chit chat and talk about like evolving, because that's my favorite thing. And I really love learning new things, and hopefully you guys have your own strategies or your own gems or your own things that you do to help with your evolution every day as we walk out this thing called life. So if you feel led, I do encourage you to share those with people around you, and I would love to hear them myself. So at the end of this episode, I will give you guys the info on how you can share your testimonies with me. But yeah, so in order for us to achieve the life that we've envisioned or the goals that we have set for ourselves, whether we want to achieve them a year from now, 5 to 10 years from now, whatever it is, we have to take inventory of our daily habits, our thought patterns, and the past traumas that we've endured, and identify if those things are barriers and if they're keeping us from reaching the goal that we have in front of us or the life that we've envisioned, right? And in order for us to reach our goals, we have to kind of examine our day to day habits. Like, write down your habits and see if these things are keeping you from where you need to go or if they're helping you. A lot of things are helping you, like, for instance, working out. That helps you keep your body, because your body is a temple, right? Your body is what, if you keep it healthy, you can last, you'll live longer to experience the things that you want for your life or the things that God has for you. But one thing that I've noticed that I know that is not helping me right now, is not a habit that is helping me, is doom scrolling. And I don't know if it's just me or maybe it's just me. I don't know. But if it's you, maybe you can relate. Do you ever catch yourself like doom scrolling, like scrolling, trying to figure out something? I don't know what it is that we're looking for, but obviously what it is it's the dopamine that we're looking for, whether it be in a post or a video. But doom scrolling is a distraction, really. It's distracting you from either comparing yourself to the person that you see doing what you already want to do and you see them being successful, or it's a distraction from you getting the things that you need to get done so you can get to where you want to be in life, whether it is working on a script or creating recipes, whatever it is. So we should clarify if the habits that we're doing day to day are actually helping us work towards the life that we've envisioned for us, or they are helping us achieve the goals that we set for ourselves in our future. And like, everybody has habits that they could get rid of, and we could go on and on and on about it. But we're not here to talk about our habits and how they're hurting us or helping us. We're here to let them go, and we're here to be better. So take inventory of those things, and if they don't help you, or you know that they're not a good habit or a good thought pattern to have, replace them with things that you know that would help you reach the goal that you have set for your life or for yourself, and work towards those things, and replace your daily habits with those new habits. They say it takes 21 days to achieve or to get into a habit. So be intentional every day for 21 days at least, and work on replacing those bad habits with good ones. Another observation that we can examine is taking a deeper look of the things that we say, the things that we think about, how we react when someone speaks to us. And if something makes you feel some type of way, try to understand where it came from, because that will help you kind of get to the root cause of it coming possibly from your past traumas, or if someone said something to you and you haven't forgiven them. That is a good way to indicate if those things still need to be worked on. And an example would be for myself that I can share is me over explaining myself. And it's not that I don't think people understand. I think it has to do with me feeling like I need to prove myself or something. So I'll give you an example. So at work, there's this lady who asked me to do something, and I already did it, right? I was already on top of my game. I knew what I needed to do, and she told me to do this. And instead of just liking, like in Ping and Team, like instead of just liking the text or liking what she wrote, I had to over explain myself and say, oh, I already did that. We're currently have a meeting. We're going to do this. And I think for me, it was to prove to her, like, girl, like, you don't got to tell me how to do my job. I know how to do my job. This is what I'm doing. So before, I know this is corny, but before you respond, because it's going to help you be more intentional about what you say, is before you respond or before you say something, think to yourself, How would the healed, evolved version of me respond? And then do that. A scripture that comes to mind that we can use as a strategy to help us unlearn these habits and these thought patterns that are kind of keeping us from evolving or becoming the highest version of ourselves is Romans chapter 12, verse 2. And it states, "Do not be conformed by the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." So we basically have to be intentional of letting go of these thought patterns and these mindsets that is keeping us from evolving and being who God says we are. You know, you got to know who you are. And if you're unsure of who you are, or you may have forgotten or life happened to you, get around some people that know who you are and see the light and the masterpiece that you are, that God created you to be. And also, like, keep repeating these things that God says about you, or your affirmations, or your mantras, or reminding yourself of all the good things that people say you are, or the qualities you have. You got to like be your own cheerleader and like hype yourself up, because when you know who you are, it's going to show out in your life. So a great example of a person who knows who they are is none other than Stephen Curry. Okay, he is the greatest of all time. I may be biased, I don't care. I know some of you out there are LeBron James fans and you think, and you may be right, he is a good player, but Steph Curry, look at the Olympics. Who brought us to the gold medal? Who carried us on our back to take us to the gold medal? Go look at the clips, right? But it wasn't always like that. If he would have paid attention to the nonsense and the BS that they were talking about him when he first got into the league, or even when he was in college, he wouldn't be where he was today. But he stayed focused on the prize. He was like, okay, I know who I am. I know what I'm capable of doing. And he worked on his craft every single day. You know, in order to be great, in order to achieve the goals that you want to achieve and the life that you've envisioned for yourself, it really, like we talked about earlier in the episode, it's about your daily habits, what you do every day. He is always in the gym every single day, even though it's not the season of basketball. He is in the gym shooting and working on his shots. Okay, so those are things that, you know, we can take into consideration. As a great example is Stephen Curry. Is he knew who he was, he knew who he wanted to be, and he worked at it every single day. And he didn't pay attention to the negative comments, the negative commentary that people were talking about him. He just focused on the prize. And that's what we have to do if we want to evolve to where we want to go and who we want to be, is not pay attention to the noise, but focus on the goal and work on the habits that are going to help us get there. If he knew who he was and he just didn't practice every day, and he just, you know, oh yeah, I got it, people are saying I'm this and I'm that, I'm not going to practice, I guarantee you he probably would miss a lot of the shots that he takes. But through practice, daily habits, you're going to get to where you want to be. But I just had to share that example because he is such a great example of what it means to know who you are and the masterpiece that God created, and to work on your habits every day, and to not pay attention to the noise and the BS that people are saying about you. So, yeah, let's all be like the great Stephen Curry if we can, in our area of what we want to do and the life that we want to live. Another tool that we can use to help us renew our mind and transform our thoughts is going to therapy. Therapy is there to help us change our perspective of what we're currently living, and it gives us tools and strategies to help us walk out the life that we know we are capable of achieving. And I say that because I've learned so many gems by just being in therapy for this short amount of time. And I don't know what's going to happen when I keep going, but there's probably going to be more gems. But one thing that stood out to me that we're working on in my therapy session that I'll share with y'all is, I say I want to be this, but my habits are saying another thing. So you have to align your habits of what you say. If you say you are a boss, then think about what a boss would do, what a boss would say. So my therapist had to check me on that because I was saying something like, I want to be this, but my actions were kind of timid and being the opposite. So we have to align our thoughts and our actions. They got to be aligned with our goals. A book that I have found to be very helpful in unlearning the habits that we're trying to overcome is by James Clear, and it's called Atomic Habits. And it really gives you practical step-by-step tools and gems and strategies on how to overcome bad habits. So, one thing that I remember that stuck with me is sometimes we forget if we turned off the curling iron or the razor, or whatever it may be. But when you say unplug or off, and then you go about your day, when you're in the car, you're going somewhere, you're not home, and you, oh my God, did I turn off the curling iron? You'll remember because you'll remember saying plug off. So that's a really good thing that Atomic Habits helps you with. Also, like, it it teaches you how to reward yourself when you do like a hard task. So let's say, for instance, you don't like washing dishes. So if you wash dishes, you can reward yourself with a snack. These are just different habits that you can incorporate in your day to day so that you can get in the habit of washing dishes after you eat, or remembering that you unplug something before you leave the house. So that's a really good book that I recommend you checking out. So, if you've had a chance to think about life, you'll realize that these thought patterns and these habits come from how we were raised or what we were exposed to while we were growing up. And I'm not saying that all these things are bad things, but we just have to realize and take inventory and make a decision for ourselves if we want to take these habits into where we're going. Eventually, when you're doing these things daily and you're taking initiative of working towards your goal, you're going to look up one day and be where you've always envisioned yourself. Just like we talked about, the things that we prayed for, the things that we're living in right now. So it's just a matter of time where we're going to get to where we want to be. The best part about all of this is the wisdom that we gained during the challenges and the trials and tribulations that we faced along the way, and how we can use it to benefit us when we're presented with a similar situation. So you're either going to take the lesson that you learn along the way and apply it to your life so that when you are presented with a similar situation, you know what to do to pass the test, or you're just going to relive this lesson over and over and over in different situations until you learn and graduate what you're supposed to learn from that lesson. So it's kind of like telling a child not to touch a hot stove so that they won't get burned, but they still are curious as to why they can't touch the stove when it's hot. And they see it as restriction instead of protection. And then when they touch the stove, they get burned. And that's when they'll learn their lesson. They know not to touch the stove again, and they'll listen next time. For instance, do you guys remember growing up and our parents wouldn't let us do certain things and we never really understood why? Like, I wasn't allowed to spend the night at my friend's house, but they could spend the night at my house. And I wasn't allowed to do anything. My parents were so strict, but I am so grateful that they laid down the law. And as I look back now, I knew they were just doing that for my protection. And they knew something that I didn't know when I was a kid. And it's kind of like the lessons that we learn. We don't know until we've experienced them. I know it's hard to believe, but maybe it's not. But the things that we go through, the challenges, the trials, the tribulations, we don't go through them and then get to the other side so that we can keep it to ourselves. We go through these things, one, for character development, and to make us stronger so that when we get to the other side, we know how we need to be, and we are there to help other people reach their goals. So we may have picked up gems, we may have picked up tools or resources that we can share with our community to help them reach their goals as well. So when you make it to the other side, you have a testimony. You have a testimony to share with your community, to share with others, to encourage them, to inspire them, to give them gems and tools and strategies of what you did to overcome this challenge, of what you did daily to overcome these trials and tribulations. We're there to overcome, and then we're there to go back and help our brothers and sisters achieve the things that they're struggling with, because at one point in your life you struggled with these things. So you're not going through this just for the sake of going through it. You go through it so that you can learn things along the way, and then you can help those who are struggling with the same thing. So the wisdom that you gain, the gems, the endurance is like the seed and the fruit that's going to help you in the next season of your life or the next chapter in your life. So never think that everything is random. Things that you go through is intentional. It's to make you stronger, it's to make you better. Sometimes we play the victim and we're like, woe is me. And I played that for a while, but then I took the things that I was struggling with and I used it as momentum and fuel to catapult me to where I want to go. And you just got to make things work for you and not against you. But it's purposely intended to make you better and to weed out the bad habits, the mindsets that you can't take with you to where you're going. If you want to see the change in your life to be who you're called to be or who you know you can be, you got to be serious and intentional about doing the work to get there. Take inventory of the thoughts, the habits, the past traumas that are barriers from you becoming that girl or that dude, and find solutions on how you can overcome them. Like whether it's taking inventory of your thoughts and replacing them with good thoughts, changing your habits, reading books, going to therapy. These are just some of the tools that we learned and gems that we've shared today that can help you work towards your goals. But you just got to be really intentional and serious, because when you set your mind to do something, you can do it. And if it was in your mind, it already is done. And the higher and better version of you is waiting for you to get there. The tools are there. We just have to make a mandate on our life to use them. And everybody has a testimony. So if you know someone, whether it be in your community or your family, that are going through the challenges that you overcame, your testimony is there to give them the hope and inspire them, as well as give them resources and tools of what they can do to overcome those challenges. And if you feel led to share your testimony with me, I would love to hear them. I may pick up some tools or gems that you've used that I did not know about that can help me along the way in my journey. So drop me a line at selfchatswithkat@gmail.com. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button. And I will see you on the next episode of Self Chats. Bye!